When it comes to culture change, there are three important behaviors that individuals are predisposed to doing. The first is innovation, the second invention, and the third imitation. Now, most of everything that we do with respect to culture every day, people in every society everywhere, is imitate. In other words, we copy either innovators or inventors. And we don't always do this successfully. That allows for mutation of ideas or ideas to change in unwanted ways or unpredictable ways. Humans are, in fact, the great plagiarizers of the animal kingdom. This might sound like a bad thing, but in fact, it's not. What would the world be like if you had to invent every single thing that you use on a daily basis on your own? The fact that we don't have to spend the time and energy inventing and innovating all of these new ideas, that we can copy those from other people, copy from copies that copy from copies, and so on and so forth. The second aspect is innovation. When we innovate, we are the first to adopt new ways or new cultural ideas. These are often called first adopters. These are people who look out in the world of ideas, and they may see new ones that they compare to old ideas and see the value of the new one as either providing more benefit or less cost, and then they adopt it before others do. In this way, innovation is about trend setting, and it can lead to major cultural changes, or it can lead nowhere. Inventors, on the other hand, create new ideas that have never been seen before in the world anywhere. These are the ideas that innovators will capitalize upon if they see or perceive that they have value. If enough first adopters or trendsetters pick up cultural ideas, they will eventually spread more rapidly into the rest of society. Because most people, most of the time, are just copying other ideas around them, it generally takes an idea reaching a critical mass before it could spread extremely rapidly within a group. Now, there are, of course, many other facets and features that predict and affect culture change, and we'll discuss some of those soon. Cultural anthropologists have written about inventors and innovators as being somewhat marginal people. They usually live on the fringes of their cultural societies and are not as easily bound by the traditions or the conventions of their societies. In other words, they're not likely to follow something just because all of the rest of the people are following it. They tend to see problems and solutions with fresh perspectives, and they're somewhat more divorced, especially from the core of the culture. Research from cultural anthropologists also indicates that they're more likely to be upper class, educated, and wealthy. So this tells us that they probably have more time and resources on their hands to spend time innovating and inventing ideas. But this also means that they may be least likely to need the advantage that they're trying to innovate or invent. For example, elite families, who generally also have small families, are the most likely to adopt contraceptive use. Yet because they have small families already, they seem to be the least likely to need it. All cultures are predisposed to change, but also predisposed to resist change, because all societies are made up of people, and if you can figure out how people behave, then you can understand better how cultures behave. And all individuals are predisposed to change, but also predisposed to resisting change. There are three general sources of influence or pressure that are responsible for both change and the resistance to it. The first is forces that are at work within societies themselves that may promote change or allow change or encourage it versus those that resist it. Number two is the degree of contact between societies that may promote things like diffusion of ideas from one cultural group to another. And then there's changes in the natural environment, because there can be things that go on in the world around you, in the ecology, that will promote changes or cause people to resist change. For example, with COVID, the spread of the pandemic caused really rapid culture change in America all around us, as people began to socially distance themselves. At the same time, you saw protester groups who were organized in resistance to this culture change. Culture change processes lead to things like diffusion, acculturation, transculturation, and stimulus diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of ideas from one culture to another. This, though, doesn't always mean that the ideas, when they move from one culture to the next, retain their original intent. For example, McDonald's in Moscow is luxurious and expensive, but that's not the case here. Most of culture change is a result of diffusion. The next process is called acculturation. It happens to an entire culture when alien traits diffuse on a large scale and substantially replace traditional cultural patterns. One example was the relentless pressure that caused Native American cultures to be acculturated as a result of colonization and European powers coming to the New World. The processes of acculturation happen to large numbers of people all at the same time. Transculturation is when an individual, themselves, moves to another culture. Expats, we've already discussed previously at the beginning of this class, they don't actually transculturate, and this is because most of them are rejectors, if you remember. Expats usually maintain their previous culture and language in their new location. Stimulus diffusion is the result of invention of an idea that was first diffused from a different culture. One example of this was the Cherokee Indian Sequoyah. He saw the English writing system and decided to develop a writing system for his own people based on the writing system he saw among the English. In another possible example, Egyptians in 3050 BC invented a hieroglyphic writing system. And perhaps they did this after learning about the cuneiform writing system that was invented by Sumerians before them in what is today southern Iraq. We'll come back in a moment and talk about culture loss. Have a great day.